Hi, so right now I am going to make a three-part series. This is going to be part one of a three-part series on myself, short, bald, unattractive, non-muscular male, heterosexual male, and my experience. It'll be in three parts, each part covering one day at a time. Part one will be day one, part two will be day two, part two will be day three. So what it's about is the 3-day day game PUA Bootcamp that I attended back in 2007. Best from my memory, I will make it as close as I can to what I remember from doing that boot camp. Not so much what I got out of it, but just how it went down and what it was about, details, step by step, session by session, day by day, and you'll get a better picture of how one of these boot camps works. Now, I paid, well, let's not disclose the figure, but it was in the thousands. Wasn't anything more than $5,000, but it wasn't anything less than $2,000. So somewhere in that range for a 3-day day game boot camp. It was here in Sydney, Australia. The company I did it with were, I don't know if they're still in business now, they're called Pickup 101, based out of San Francisco in the United States. And it was a 3-day boot camp. A Friday consisted of theory and a bit of practice in the hotel. In the hotel room that they had hired out, or it's a big hotel hall, the entertainment room of the hotel that they'd hired out, the small one. That was where it was held. That was the base. So day one was Friday night. It ran from I think it was about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 9:30. Saturday was all day. I think it was from 9 or 10 to about 6 or 7 p.m. and Sunday was the same time. Now, there were 5 instructors and 5 attendees. So the 5 instructors were three of them. The head instructor was a guy in his early mid-40s, more like mid-40s. He was from the United States. There were 2 other younger instructors. These guys would have been in their mid-late 20s or maybe early 20s, also from the United States, and there were 2 local instructors. One of them was a tall, bald guy, and the other guy was I think he's a Vietnamese origin, Australian, a mixed origin, part Vietnamese background, part white, the local background. Now, so it started off. We all got to the boot camp at 5. I think it was from 5 to 9:30 that first night. Now there were 5 students. Myself, there was another guy who flew in from Western Australia. He was a fairly large guy, a lot of weight around his belly, overweight. He worked on the mines, and he only came with the intention of learning how to get or seduce one of the girls that he was working with, his work colleagues, which I found quite amazing. That you date to a 3-day boot camp just for one girl, just to find techniques on how to seduce one girl that you worked with. I find that quite astonishing, actually. Anyway, there was him, and then there was me, and then there was a 3rd guy from up the coast, about an hour and a half north of Sydney. He was looking just to meet girls randomly and through social circles, kind of like myself. And then there was another 2, or the other 2 guys were from Sydney. One was a solicitor, at a solicitor company. good guy, got on well with him. And the final guy was I think he was a travel agent trying to meet. And they were both. The solicitor was more trying to meet new girls, trying to get out of friend zones with girls he already knew. I think that the travel agent guy was looking to meet new girls through cold approaching. Now, as far as the way they looked, as I said, the first guy was very overweight. The second guy he wasn't bald. He wasn't tall, but he wasn't bald like me. Maybe maybe an inch or two taller than me at best. Not very muscular. He's from an hour and a half north of Sydney. The other two guys, the solicitor, he was a little bit taller than me. Would have been about 5'9", 5'10". I think he had, from memory, curly, goldish coloured hair. And the fifth guy, well, he was the best looking of the lot. He was about 6 foot, younger than all of us, and white-skinned, flowing, blondish coloured hair. So yeah, I mean, he was probably the best looking out of all of us. And at the end of boot camp, I think he was the one that got the best results. No surprises there. Now, it started off, so we got there at 5 o'clock, and the head instructor, the guy in the mid-40s, he was telling us, "Oh, it's a wonderful city, Sydney. I was here last week, and I've been doing a lot of day game, etc., etc." So the actual boot camp was called Pickup 101 Daygame Bootcamp, The Art of Rapport. So he said to us, he gave us an overview. He said, "Yeah, look, I was just down there down the road there in Darling Harbour, and the first girl I approached in the daytime, I managed to get her into a conversation, and I ended up getting her phone number." So he kind of tried to impress us. He came across as very impressive. I don't know if I bought that or not, but wanted to believe him, so I believed him, like we all did at that time. I was very blue-pilled at the time, like all the other guys in the boot camp were. So we all sat down, and the first thing they made us do was think about a story unique to us, a very personal, very emotional story that was unique to us. They made us write it down. We kept it aside. They said keep it aside for the third day. Right, you'll be using these on the third day to get into deep rapport with women, so that you can open up to them about something close to you, close to your heart, that not many people would know about. So keep these stories in mind, and we shall be practicing using them with the women that we bring in to train with in the boot camp. So they brought in women on day 2 and 3 so we could practice what we were taught, and also with women you meet in the field, out and about. So that was that. We finished up those stories. We read them to each other. The instructor said, yes, that's good, or they gave us some ideas on how we can tweak them, what we can say better, what we could do better, what would make things a little bit more emotional and deeper so we could share with women. Once that was all done and we got their ticks of approval, the next thing was we did some exercises. Now, one of them was, I remember what one of them was. I don't remember all of them, but I remember one of them clearly. We'd have to line up our right eye with the right eye of, so we pair up in twos. Each of us would pair up with one of the instructors, so one of the students to one of the instructors, and we'd look into each other's eyes, like right eye into right eye. So you'd line up your right eye with the instructor's right eye, so you wouldn't be sitting directly opposite them, just a little bit to the left of them, and you'd line up your eyes right eye to right eye, and you'd keep staring, you'd keep staring, you'd keep staring, and the first one who broke eye contact or blinked, the other person would give them a tap on the shoulder, like a whack on the shoulder, and then you'd go back into staring, and it would be like you stare into each other's right eye, and the first one who would break eye contact, the other one would just give them a nudge to say, hey, you've broken eye contact, keep back on the eye contact. I guess it was an exercise just so we could all bond together a bit better, and B, so it would help us with eye contact, in general eye contact, with talking to people, looking at people, getting away, getting that that shyness, that awkwardness out. That was the whole aim. Now, Once that was done, we did those exercises about half an hour. We had a break. We had drinks, soft drinks, water. Then we came and we sat down again. And what was told to us afterward was we sat down and the head instructor saying, now I'm going to get one of the other instructors to come up and we're going to demonstrate examples of a different approaches. They went through all the different types of approaches you'll get in the field doing day game. A woman walking towards you, a woman walking away from you, a woman walking alongside you, a stationary woman. Now these were all standing, so standing, stationary, walking alongside, walking towards, walking away from, seating, so a woman who was seated, and there might have been, was there another position? No, so stationary woman standing, stationary woman sitting, walking towards, walking away, walking alongside. So there were different scenarios that would present themselves, and they were the 5 different scenarios, I can't think it was 5, that would present themselves when you're out doing day game. And we were taught step by step what to say by these instructors, who demonstrated to us what to say, how to say it, and we then had to go and practice with the instructors. So the instructors would play the female role and we would play the approacher. So each of these scenarios we practiced for. We nailed down all the sticking points, so body language, tonality, facial expression, vocal expression, the whole gamut, the whole lot. Was all covered in every scenario. So basically we did walk towards, then walk away from, walk alongside, stationary, and finally we did sitting sets. They were the 5 we did, and the instructors basically would give us critiques on how we can improve, and we went back and kept doing it, and students kept doing them and kept doing them and kept doing them until we got them 100% correct, until we nailed them down the way that the instructors thought was correct for us. Apologies, I just had something in my eye. I don't know what it was, but anyway, so that was done, and yeah, then that was, so we nailed down each approach. Now the body language, I can't really explain in this. It's like you basically walk in, you point, you're not pointing 100% towards them, you're at an angle as to not fully point to them, but you're giving them, you're always looking away or pointing away, that you could leave at any time so the woman doesn't feel uncomfortable, that you're not encroaching into, you're not making her uncomfortable, that you're overbearing and you're taking control of the interaction. It gives her some avenue for escape, but also shows that you're not 100%, totally being, totally interested. You're not 100% totally interested, and you can also walk away any time, and you're not really putting the woman in an awkward position. That was for the walking, the standing sets where the woman was standing. Where the woman were walking towards us, it would be just like you'd walk at an angle in a line, and you'd kind of walk towards them but not into them, and you'd say, stop, excuse me, I just want to ask you something, or something along those lines. So the body language was all nailed out. With the sitting sets, you'd come in standing, and then within, I think it was within a certain amount of time frame, when you reached a certain hook point, you'd take a seat, and you'd get more rapport by sitting and not sitting directly and pointing to her, but sitting alongside her, or just at like a 40-45 degree angle, so it's not intrusive. That was all well and good. Then what else happened? Yeah, so the way you say is an opener, and they would what they were teaching us was indirect approaching, as opposed to direct, which we'll do on day 3. But indirect would be days 1 and 2. So there was indirect approach. You'd stop a woman. You might be standing in line, for example, at a coffee shop, and you're standing alongside the woman. You're not pointing towards her. You're parallel to her. You're facing the same way. You're next to her. You're standing next to her. You give her a little. They taught us how to do keno properly. Just a little light touch for not even a second on a forearm, just to get her attention, just to know that you're in. You want to get her attention, and you're a physical guy. You're not scared to touch. So you touch her lightly on the forearm, just on the with the outside of your palm, just this part, just like this. Touch her on the forearm like this, on the inside. Hey, do you know what's good on the menu here? And she might say, no, I'm not sure. I haven't been here before. And you'd say, oh, it's your first time drinking coffee, is it? You're not the coffee connoisseur I thought you were. And she might have a bit of a laugh. So the sequence was, you have the opener, you have a little bit of light banter, which is acceptable for the day. You don't want to go into heavy banter, which is not really acceptable in a daytime situation. You'd have the opener, the light banter, followed by looking towards getting into a conversation which leads to wide rapport, and hopefully from there deep rapport. But we were only doing wide rapport to start with, so wide rapport meaning you can talk about different subjects on a number of subjects on a number of topics, but not go too deep and heavy and meaningful into getting into personal chat. So just like, oh yeah, so what's good on the menu here? I'm not sure. You're not the coffee connoisseur I thought you were. Oh, gee, silly me. So what brings you here today? Oh yeah, I'm just out, getting a coffee before I go meet up with a friend. Oh yeah, where are you going to? Oh, we're going to here, yeah, this and that. Yeah, oh, you like those? You like concerts, do you? Okay, what kind of bands are you into? This and that. So you get talking on a range of topics. It's meant to get a woman, wide rapport is meant to get a woman engaged in conversation with you and find common ground, and progress that way. So, and then hopefully at the end of that, you get the contact details. You can swap details. So what happened was we practiced that in the instructors as the students until they were 100% happy that we're doing it correctly. That all worked, and to the point where we'd go for the close. We'd practice wide rapport with the instructors, playing with the women in the field, and the students playing the approaches. So we practiced that until the instructors were happy that we got it all right, and that we practiced closing. So it's great to meet you today. We can carry this conversation on some other time. It would be great to see you some other time. If you haven't, could I get your contact details? Can I get your email or your phone number? And they would, the instructors would say yes. I'll give you my email, yes, my phone number, blah blah blah. So basically, they wouldn't do that until we got the first few steps correct. So basically, it would fall into sequence. So open, light banter, wide rapport, ask for the close, get the close, yes or no, and see you later, go on. Now, that's all well and good practicing, but my critique of that was practicing in the studio, in the room in the hotel, without proper feedback from women in the field, without doing this real time, can't really prepare you for what you get handed to you or comes your way in the real world when you approach women for real. Yes, it's helpful. It gives you a sequence of steps and it tells you the right body language, tonality, steps, as I said, sequence, words, etc. to use when you approach in the field in the daytime. But it doesn't guarantee you the same results that it would do out in the real world. So obviously the instructors are given, they're saying yes to what they believe is correct, but not all women will fall into that spectrum. And, being the blue pill guy I was at the time, I wanted to believe that was going to work for me. And we were all ticked off and we all had it correct. And it was good night from there and see you tomorrow morning. So that's where I'll end this part 1 of my Daygame Bootcamp review back from July 2007 in Sydney for Pickup 101's Daygame Art of Rapport. Stay tuned for part 2.